So when I bought a G7, I was looking into maybe getting a GH5 whenever that came out. That was a while ago. I was really just looking at the Micro Four Thirds system and seeing if that's something that I really wanted to get into. I started messing around mostly just with the kit lens. And now that I've kind of think that I might go that direction and might get a GH5, I started looking at lenses for it. So I started by looking at cinema lenses. There's the Vedras out there, but then there's these Rokinons. These Rokinons are really cheap. And I mean, it's like, I think this is a 35mm. It's a T1.5, like, wow, wow, wow. It had great reviews, 4.5 stars on Amazon. I thought, that's a good buy, right? I mean, it's got all these great reviews. So went and I got one of these, got in from Amazon, and then I realized it's meh. Let's start off by talking about this T1.5, because that sounds amazing, like amazing. And I guess in a technical way, it's a 1.5, but really, they got greedy. They should have stopped it at a 2.8 and made it like a standard lens, and people would have, accepted that. It's a T2.8. That's not bad. It really is not that bad. And you could get some good defocused backgrounds with it. You have to set your shot up for that, but you really can get good defocused backgrounds at 2.8. And I think the fact that they went all the way to T1.5, they just got greedy. That's it. Instead of stopping where it was clear, they pushed the number to 1.5. So, they got something to put on their box or their advertising and say, yeah, it's a T1.5. Isn't that great? But you get awful fringing. I mean, everything has like this purple haze to it, and the image is super soft. Like the most focused you could get looks out of focus. And especially trying to do this on 4K, it doesn't work. And what's even worse than that is, I get the box, and it's saying for Micro Four Thirds. Micro Four Thirds, that's great. They built a lens for Micro Four Thirds. And it actually says full frame lens. So what did they do? They just took a lens that they had that was really designed probably for Canon, and they just put this dumb adapter on it, really. And it's not really a Micro Four Thirds lens. It's like an EF lens that has an adapter built into it. And it makes me think like, well, they kind of got lazy, because if you look down inside the back end, it's like super deep. And it makes you think like, well, couldn't you have taken the last glass element out or shifted it and put a couple more pieces of glass in to kind of culminate the light a little bit better, and it had a proper Micro Four Thirds lens? But they didn't. They got lazy there. So they just strapped it on, adapted it, and that's all they did to it. So not really happy about that. Now I will say, as far as the gearing, the Gearing'S Nice on it, and the focus throw on the lens, I mean, it's got a lot of focus throw. That's great. It's got gearing for the aperture if you wanted to use it, but just the way that it was for me to shoot with this thing, I basically had it at 2.8 and then put a variable ND filter on the front of it. And then I was making adjustments to that variable ND filter to correct for my exposure rather than using the aperture. And, that allows me to get better images that I like better anyway on this lens. Now, I will personally say, like, this lens, it's not all bad. It's not like a horrible lens. It's like, you know, if you gave me this lens and said, here, you got to shoot with this, I can make this work. I really can. I can make it work. But you don't want to buy a lens and, like, the best thing you could say about it is like, well, yeah, I could live with that. You know, no, that's not what you want in a lens. You want a lens that at least meets your expectations, you know? If it says it's a T1.5, you expect it to at least be, you know, like a lot of lenses, you open them all the way up and they are a little bit soft. And that's a normal thing. But, you know, you say T1.5 and you have to go really to at least 2.8 to get a decent image. You can't say that's a 1.5. You know, yeah, I'll give you a little bit, a 2.2 or a 2. You know, you even want to call it a 1.9, you know, you're at least past 2. But to go all the way to 1.5, I mean, the image is crap. You know, when I'm shooting on my G7 with this lens, the footage that I got off it, it's not that bad really. And it's one of those things where, you know, if I was trying to compose a scene using this lens, then really it's not bad at all. It really isn't that bad. You know, I don't want to say this lens is awful, but I don't know what it is about this lens. It just, I don't like it. I don't know what to say about it. I don't like it. The images look fine, but, you know, if you're trying to tell a story and everything with it, it would work. And I mean, it's a 35mm, and I compare that to my Sigma 18 to 35mm. I mean, they're essentially the same size. That's the Sigma there, and then that's the Rokinon. And really, I love this lens a lot. I mean, I love it, and it gets me good images. The only shortcoming I really have with this is that short focus throw. But, you know, I mostly solved that by putting a gear ring on this and then using a follow focus. So at least, you know, it's a little bit easier to tweak in that small space. You can actually see when you look at this lens when you're focusing, you could see the front glass elements moving in and out. So right then and there, I mean, the front glass elements moving probably has focus breathing, right? Yeah, it has focus breathing. So it's kind of like, you call it a cinema lens, and then it has focus breathing. The T-stops are unusable when it's all the way open. Like, not like it's soft. I mean, it's unusable. You cannot use it. You know, I've seen VHS camcorder footage that looks sharper than this does all the way open. It's awful. And just that you didn't try and build a lens for Micro Four Thirds. You just strapped an adapter on the end of a lens that you already had sitting on the shelf and then called it Micro Four Thirds. That just, for some reason, leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Yeah, so with all that said, the focus breathing, the T1.5 that is unusable, the dumb adapter on the back. I mean, any one thing I could look past, but all three, it's awful. So for me, on a scale of awesome to crap, I give it a solid meh. And really, I wouldn't necessarily suggest you buy this. If somebody gives it to you, I'd take it. I'd use it. But I can't justify spending my money on this lens. So that's all I really have to say about that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.